thank you so much for joining me here today. I wanted to talk to you over the events that have occurred over the last 10 days or so with the death of George Floyd, with the protests and the riots, and the general unrest in America and really globally over racial injustice and police brutality when it comes to Black lives. You posted a few things on your social media about this, and we've seen in the past that when athletes have done that, there's been backlash, and it's unfortunate and it's archaic, but we've seen it more times than not. I don't think that's what's going on now. It seems like people are more encouraged than ever by conversation, but you still had to make the choice whether or not to speak publicly about this. Why was it important for you not to stay silent on this topic?
It's the fact that I think that I've grown ever since I've been in pro ball, and then in my life, I've grown a lot. I'm going to be the first to say back, I think 4 years ago when Colin Kaepernick, when he took his knee, and it was for injustice for people of color, Black people in America, especially with police brutality. I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't understand it. I grew up in the South. Not saying all South people are like this, but just from the people I was around, not my family, but just people I was around, I heard, hey, don't disrespect the flag. And so in my mind, I'm like, well, I have a dad. He served in the Navy for, I think, 9 or 10 years. And I'm like, is he disrespecting my dad? And so that's when I got a problem with it. And I was like, no, he needs to find a better way to do this, And then growing and understanding what he was actually talking about, it made me actually open up my mind and understand, like, he's doing this for me. I had to grow. I had to do my research, educate myself. I have a platform. I think somebody told me I have like 25,000 followers over Twitter and Instagram. And if I can speak up and use my voice, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not just a baseball player. I'm not. I'm a man. I'm a Black male. I'm a Black Christian male in America. That's who I am. I'm a son. I'm a brother. I'm a boyfriend. I want people to understand, like, I can talk. I can express my opinion because that's how I feel, and that's what I've experienced in my life. And so for me to even go out and, like, speak out about this, I'm going to be honest with you, it was tough because, I know how a lot of people can be on the internet. I know how a lot of people can be just on social media, and they can be reckless. And I'm giving them my personal experiences. That's what I want to continue to do, because if it was George Floyd one day, who's to say it wasn't me? It's not me the next day, or my brother the next day, or my best friend the next day.
I appreciate you being honest, because I think a lot of people didn't understand also in the beginning what Colin Kaepernick was doing. And as a Black male, to hear you say that, I think, a lot of people were in the same boat, or they didn't understand some of the issues going on. You spoke about your personal experiences. What is life like for you as far as being the target of racism or having to endure racism?
Going to certain stores, going shopping sometimes, and then, you're looking over your shoulder and one of the associates just following you around, like, what do I have to steal? And getting pulled over and having that kind of fear in the back of your head, like, am I going to get a good cop or a bad cop? And this is another thing that most people don't really understand, is that a lot of Black people, a lot of Black men and women, they have these talks with their parents of how to deal with when you get pulled over, or how if you're walking down the street and the police comes over and they're talking to you, how to approach them. It's understanding that, treat it as if it's a bad cop, yes, sir, no, sir. If he says, hey, we need you over here, get up and get over there, making sure that your wallet is not in your bag. And I remember having these talks with my parents, and they gave me one rule. And it was to get home alive. Pride goes out the window at that point.
How have you absorbed the events of the last 10 days? I mean, you look at the protests, the riots, the murder of George Floyd, the conversations you've probably had with people, and then figuring out your own voice in it and what you stand for. What have you had to process and kind of work through over these last 10 days?
Oh man, it's these past few days, and not even the past few days, the past like month or so, especially dealing with Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, last 2-3 months, it's happened. And I know for me, it's been a lot, just fear, anger, a lot of just sadness. just distraught with every single thing that's kind of gone on. And I'm like, for me, it's scary. It really is. And I know personally, the friends that I have, they've really shown me a lot about themselves this past few days. They've reached out to me and they've honestly been trying to understand. A lot of tough conversations, a lot of tears, and I also say a lot of hurt as well, because you see a lot of people that you think that are there for you, that you thought that were there for you, that you kind of see their true side because they're not willing to understand the issue that we're going through right now.
What about your baseball family? Have you talked to other players within baseball? Have you heard from other players that have wanted to learn more, or just even have conversations with you about everything that's going on?
Absolutely. I know for me, I've talked to multiple guys. Of course, Tyler Stevenson and TJ Freer, they're my brothers. We've had conversations. Michael Chavis, he hit me up. Gavin Lux has talked to me. We've talked a few times. Forrest Whitley as well. I'm probably going to miss a few guys' names, but those are the guys that come off the top right now. Those guys have gone out their way to talk to me, ask questions, making sure, one, I'm okay. That's the biggest thing that every single person has done, and made sure they know, they tell me that they love me and they're here for me. And that's what for me meant the world to me, because not gonna lie, it's tough right now. It really is. And they made an effort to see how I was and how I was feeling.
Put a post up on Blackout Tuesday on your Instagram, and it was a very, very important message. And I'm paraphrasing it here, but I'll put it up on the screen. You said, don't let this just be another social media trend or something you do for Instagram clout. If you're with us, be with us for the long haul. Can you just expand on that and what was behind that, and why it's so important that people don't take this lightly?
Because it's real. It's real. I kind of get emotional sometimes when I see like posts and stuff like that of people just, they go to rallies and they just post a fist up and they're gone. This is my life. This is our lives that we're talking about. This isn't something to play with. Value this. Value our lives. Value what we're going through. Understand what we're going through. I'm speaking up because, one, I didn't speak up at one point in time, and that hurts me to this day. And so people who make these posts and people who speak up now, I want you behind me. I want you not even behind, I want you beside me when we're in some out of nowhere county in some place, or we're at a restaurant and somebody says something like out of line to me, and I'm like, did he just say that? And you're the first person to stand up. It can't fade away. It can't just dwindle down after a week or two. It can't do that. And it's my responsibility to continue to keep standing up and saying what is right.
Yeah, that's really, really well put. I think that's the danger here, right? Is, you go back to Rodney King, you go back to the LA riots about 20 years ago, and then here we are again today, right? We've seen a lot of people ask, especially over the last few days, how can I do more? How can I become anti-racist? How can I fight racial injustice? What would be your answer to that?
You gotta listen. Listen to what we're saying. It's easy to have an idea of what somebody is saying and go in defensive and say, hey, look, this is what I'm going through. But what about this? Why don't you do this? Why do you do it? It's like, whoa. Just listen to me first, man. Just listen to me first. Two is to understand, because if you listen, you can just say like, oh yeah, I'm listening, not understand what we're going through. Because if you don't understand, you're not going to get anywhere. Number three is to ask questions. Just like anything, if you want to learn something, you got to ask questions. 4, you got to speak up. You got to speak up. It doesn't matter if it's your family. It doesn't matter if it's your friends. I need you to speak up. Educate yourself. Educate yourself. You can look online. You can follow these people. You can hear about what they're talking about, why they're so hurt, why certain people are angry of what they've been through, and understanding what we want. What I've had to do, and I'm still continuing to do, is educating myself for when somebody comes at me and they say certain things, and I'm prepared for it because I know what I stand for. I know what I feel because I've been through it.
Are you encouraged, Taylor, by what you're seeing right now, or are you wanting more to give it some time and to see if there's actual real change that happens?
Right now, I'm encouraged. Right now, I see voices being heard. The next thing I want to see is action. I've been registered to vote since 2018. Like, I hadn't voted, and that's one thing. Like I said, I had to educate myself because we're not going to see any change if we don't vote for what you believe. People have died for me. People have risked their lives for me not to do this, for me not to speak up, not to vote or anything like that. So I want to see action.
Taylor, I know that if people do half of the personal introspection that you've done, we're going to be in a very good place. I think it says a lot about what you've done, looking at yourself and your own actions. And I think that if we all do that, we're going to be able to move forward in some significant way. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that you want to touch on that you just think is really important that people understand, or maybe they misunderstand right now about the issue?
Yes, it would have to be, I've heard this a lot, and it's been all lives matter. Absolutely. All lives do matter, absolutely. But Black lives right now, we're hurting. The systemic racism that is going on right now towards Black people, it needs change. It needs to change, absolutely.